My very first guest is Kemari Howell. I'm so excited because I have to tell you guys that this whole thing was actually a brainstorm that Kemari and I did, and she actually came up with the hashtag, the This Is Somebody hashtag. So this is like our brainchild. I'm so excited. Yay. So I can't thank you enough for joining me today. So first, like, tell us who you are. Tell us everything.
Whew. Okay, how much time do we have again?
We're going to go about 30 minutes. And if there's time, we'll have questions at the end. So if you guys could just be patient, that would be awesome. So the floor is yours. I'm listening.
So let's start with where I am personally. I am a single mother to teenage twins, the daughter of an alcoholic, an intuitive copywriter, best-selling editor, a professional namer, a dog lover, and I love food.
Look, me too. I do love food. So tell us a little bit about, this whole thing is really about body shame, and that I really wanted to have these conversations to let women know that they're not alone, and that we all have the same experience, different versions of the same experience, but that our bodies are nothing to be ashamed of. So I really just want you to share your story, like how body shame has showed up in your life and how it's impacted your work, your relationships.
It pretty much was parasitic. Body shame has been a part of my life, so much so that it's almost sad that it's gone, because it was something I wore like a cloak, and I mean, that's a sad thing, but for a very long time, I did a lot of self-shaming. I was shamed by family, by friends, school classmates, definitely. I was a very, very, very thin, very, small child. I was kind of quiet, very nondescript. And having dealt with some of the stuff that I've dealt with in my, home life, family life, childhood and whatnot, and adolescence, food became sort of a best friend. And I know, first I want to say that body shaming is not just about the food and the weight and any of that stuff, though that played a huge part for me, unintended. My weight has always gone up and down. I was sort of blissfully unaware that I was fat up until about middle school. I didn't really understand that was the case. I had, that innocent sort of confidence for a long time, and then I think just sort of peer relations really affected how I saw myself. And I think when you get to that stage in your life, middle school, high school, it becomes more about how you look. It's not about who you are on the inside. It's almost like a cycle. In the beginning, it's who you are, and then it's what you look like, and then it's back to who you are, and then when you're older, it's what you look like, and it's just sort of a cycle. So for me, when I finally got to that stage in my life, I guess to medicate the pain, I ate more. And I think that's something that is with any kind of pain. We use those things as crutches, but it actually does more harm than it really ever does good. We just don't see that. We sort of self-perpetuate these situations. I had an alcoholic mother. I still have an alcoholic mother, and that has shaped me literally and figuratively. I think that addictive personality is what drove me to eat all the time. I ultimately developed diabetes. I found out that I had diabetes in 2009, but I probably had it for several years. And a lot of the weight, a lot of the shame of, how I lived my life in the way that I was unhealthy in every way. I became a recluse. It affected my business. I never sort of stepped out and took risks. I was very afraid to be seen, literally and figuratively. I didn't want to show up in any sort of way, because to show up meant to be seen and to have people see me in every aspect. And that was terrifying, mostly because of my body. And that is something that I dealt with for a long time, which I don't want to say how many years because that shows my age, but a very long time. But it, you know, I had my wake up moment. I had my aha moment. So
what was that moment, and what changed, and what did you do?
The physical, and not sort of the mental and spiritual moment, but the physical aha moment was about 2 or 3 years ago. I was going to Burger King. I worked from home, which also helped feed into that sort of eating and body shame. But I worked from home, and I would go to McDonald's or Burger King and eat. I wasn't what I felt looked like someone who would go to Starbucks. So I went to those places, which also had Wi-Fi. And I probably would drink the equivalent of 2 buckets worth of soda every day on top of whatever I ate. And this particular day, I stepped out of my car, and there was an overweight couple in the reflection, and they were standing, and they were like hugging or something, where they were standing close together, and my body actually contained both of them in my reflection. And wow. it was sort of like a metaphor. You know, I had 2 people inside of me too, and that was, you know, I felt like 2 different people. And it was just very jarring for me. And it was the visual catalyst that I really kind of needed to, you know, I mean, I think when you are bigger or smaller, or you have some sort of visual body image issue, you tend to either be in complete denial or embrace it fully and just kind of have this, you know, I could care less attitude. And I think I was a little bit of both at that point. I used to think that it was okay to just eat whatever because it's a short life. Life is short. I should be able to enjoy myself. But I really wasn't enjoying myself if I hated who I was and how I looked and how I felt after all of that. So that was the visual moment. And the spiritual moment was just a conversation I had with my daughter so often. I think that I don't even remember it. But it was about the future. And I thought, you know, I'm not even taking my diabetes medication anymore. I'm not doing anything. I'm not trying. I'm not really even alive. I'm just existing. You know? And that was sort of the moment. And I decided that I needed to show up and really sort of look at myself in the mirror. And do something about it, and not just sit down and take whatever it was that I was mostly dishing out myself, because it had stopped from other people. I was the worst one with the body shaming. So,
what kind of things would you say to yourself? This is vulnerable, I know.
Yeah, out loud and in public, as well as in private. You know, I would make sort of brutal jokes about myself. If I, for example, were shopping or something like that, I'd make jokes about how, that could fit, you know, this could fit on my pinky, you know, like a junior's pair of pants or something. Or I, you know, tell my daughter or my son, kind of, he's a big football kind of dude, so it doesn't really affect him the same way, but I'd be like, God, I feel so fat today. Or look at my chin, or look at my, you know, my face is all ruddy, and I feel so, you know, I'm hot and sweaty. I don't want to wear a tank top. I live in Florida, so the fact that I would, you know, choose discomfort over any kind of healthy comfort just because of how I felt about my arms or anything was pretty sad. But I talked down to myself a lot. You know, you're worthless. I mean, that was something that ran through my mind all the time. You know, why would anybody want you? And not just in a romantic capacity, why? You know, all these people are leaving my life, and mostly it's me pushing them away, but I don't want to see it as that. I want to see them not sticking around because of what I look like. And that's how I used that, you know. I just didn't show up in any way. And I think that was the worst thing I said to myself, was that I wasn't even worth showing up. You know, I wasn't even worth getting up and being in my life and truly living my life. And I felt just absolutely worthless and ugly and boring and oh gosh, I mean, so much.
Wow. So even once you started losing weight, how did the body shame part, like how did that shift? Like how did the conversation change, and what triggered that change?
For me, actually, the true catalyst for any kind of weight loss and the shift in sort of mentality actually came from keeping a food diary. My specialty is words anyways, with my life. And one of the things that my nutritionist had said years before, which I didn't listen to for a very long time, was that to keep a food diary and to see where you're emotionally, you know, binging and what you're actually intaking, because you can eat a handful of M&Ms and think they didn't even count, or you know, whatever the case may be. And so I started to chronicle it. And something I noticed early on before I had my aha moment was when I was chronicling, I wasn't including the things that I knew I should be including. I didn't include a lot of the stuff that really counted, the emotional aspects. So I started to do that. I started to pay attention to what I was thinking and what I was saying to myself and how I felt that day. And it was actually the language that I used when I talked to myself, the words that I chose to use. And I began a ritual of just sort of writing something sort of body positive or positive about myself at the beginning of the day in my journal, and kept talking to myself. And that helped me so much. And it made me want to do something because I'd held myself accountable, you know, that early morning, vulnerable, really wanting to do good person. I didn't want to disappoint her at the end of the day. I didn't want to feel like I didn't accomplish anything. I didn't want to feel worthless of my own belief in myself. So I started walking and I stopped drinking sodas, and I lost probably 30 pounds right away. And
Wow.
If weight is the thing for anyone who suffers from, you know, body image issues or any kind of body shaming, just changing one thing sometimes is enough. I mean, I literally walked. I think every time I went to Walmart, I started to walk the store. That's actually what I did. And I hate being there. So that was, you know, I wanted to get out as soon as possible. So I walked fast. And I'd walk the store twice, and I would go buy whatever I needed to buy. And I stopped drinking sodas. And those were the two things. Those were my two physical activities. It's not exercise. I tricked myself. It wasn't exercise and it wasn't a diet. I just simply eliminated one thing. And I knew that I could do that. I made it possible for myself. And that was, I think, what I needed. You know, that was something that really sort of helped me. And when that happened, when I lost that weight, that's almost like the same drug that you get from, you know, what do they say? Soda is almost like a drug, sugar is a drug. I mean, that was the same kind of high, you know, looking at myself in the mirror and seeing that I have to buy new clothes now. That is amazing. You know, when something you really wanted to have happen, and then you know that you've done it yourself. And just in those 30 pounds, I mean, I was probably like 325 pounds at my highest. And I think when I first started to lose weight, I was about 290. So I lost about 30 pounds. I was down to 260, between 260 and 270. And just that little bit of weight. I mean, I was still very heavy, but just that little bit was everything I needed. You know? I mean, it made me feel seen. It made me feel like a woman again, because here's the other thing. I lost every bit of my femininity. I lost every bit of my creativity. I was very blah. I was just a vegetable, which is funny considering that I didn't want to eat them.
I'm glad that you talked about that because I think that it's easy to not recognize how our image of ourselves plays into our work and our creativity because it is kind of difficult to do good work or passion work when you are hating on yourself, like because it's so energetic. I mean, whether it's words or thoughts or whatever, it really does impact everything that we do. And so while you were not feeling maybe that you were where you wanted to be, how did you stay in the space of not like crucifying yourself?
It was, for me, I have kids, so even if I'd wanted to, I couldn't.
Hmm.
Um, I couldn't sort of quit. So when I was in that place of not, I mean, it was minimal. I did the most minimal thing I could do, and I didn't even do anything that I was passionate about. I was working with, the things that I loved. I was writing, I was editing, but it was what I felt to be not something that made me want to get up in the morning. So I did the most minimal thing, and even then, I didn't want to. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to show up, and the amount of times I got sick, and then just hibernated away my sadness. I mean, it was very fluctuating. There's so much depression, and I don't even mean clinical diagnosed depression, but there's just so much sadness when you can't see yourself as a, fully alive, open, beautiful person. There's so much sadness and there's so much darkness. And so your creativity and your passion and your spirit does suffer immensely. I mean, I'm at the complete opposite of where I was 3 or 4 years ago in every way. And it's just, because of changing how I spoke to myself and changing how I saw myself. And even if I hadn't lost the weight, and I'm still not by any, model-esque standards, I'd never make it as a Victoria's Secret angel.
Me either.
And I'm actually happy about that. I don't want to be. I love who I am. I love what I look like. I love where I'm at, health-wise, spiritually, in my work, and everything boils down to that body image. It really does.
Wow. So where are you now? Like, tell me what a morning looks like. Like, do you still keep a diet journal?
No, because I actually don't really need to. I'm very, very self-aware and very mindful of what I put into my body. I do have indulgence days, and that's because I have things that that I love, that I miss. Pizza is my indulgence. So I make sure I make time for that, because the other thing I learned is that if I sort of restricted everything I liked, I'd fall off the wagon. I mean, it's not even about that. So many people diet, and it wasn't about diet. It was about changing how I viewed food and changing how I viewed myself. That's the real diet. That's actually the real diet. Is just in how you see something and how you think about something and how you talk about something. That's the diet everyone should be on, whether you are too thin or too big by society standards. Even if it's not, a weight issue, it's the best diet you can have is honoring who you really are.
Absolutely. Do you find that when you became more compassionate with yourself, did you find your perception or how you even thought about people that couldn't hear what you were saying about them? Because like I've noticed that the people that are the most brutal with others, like the ones that say like the meanest things, they also like have these really mean conversations with themselves. So did you notice a shift in how you perceived others or how you communicated or how you thought about people after you changed the way you spoke and thought and felt about yourself?
Yes, so much. And I think that that's actually a beautiful point that you're making, because that is very true. I think that we are ourselves mirrors for how we see or perceive ourselves to be, and we reflect out whatever it is that we're feeling. For me, I was a very snarky, very quick to judge kind of person. And it's because I felt judged. It's because I always felt like people were talking about me. Most of the time, it was never about me. That's the one thing I think in any situation we forget our mistake is that it's not about you. It really isn't. It almost always is about someone else. If someone who's, bigger calls you a beanpole, it's because they feel different. They feel like they're the ones that are, too big. And so they reflect that by saying what they say to you, or vice versa. If someone's too small and they see a big person and they say something. I don't want to make this just about big or small, but that's one of the main issues today is that there's such a stigma for that. And my compassion towards other people, just in general, in any situation, not even with like body image type situations, but in any situation has changed. I actually, in fact, it kind of creeps my kids out. I go out in public and we go to stores and I always say something to someone. I always help someone. I'm always willing to say something nice or compliment someone. And before I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't open my mouth because there's that vulnerability of if you compliment someone, you don't know if they're going to do it back. If they're going to say something, what they're going to think about you, or even just being visible. And so that self-hatred and self-loathing, it's kind of worn as an aura. I mean, it's just a really bad tornado of ick that just sort of swirls around you, and everyone in your path gets caught up in it. And even if you don't mean to hurt someone's feelings, and it might be self-directed, it happens. But loving myself and liking where I'm at, regardless of what my body looks like, regardless of how tall or short or fat or thin or whatever I am a much better person to other people because of it. So it's really sort of rounded out in every way.
Wow. What would you say to someone who is currently, just not feeling good, whether they're feeling too thin or whether they're feeling too big? Like, what advice would you give them about being able to just, be kind and be gentle with themselves today?
I don't actually know that I have the best advice other than to really just forgive yourself for whatever it is that you think you've done wrong, because you haven't. The thing is that we're all here and we're meant to be different. I mean, you have to remember the very basic premise of life is the experience. And I missed out on so much experience simply because of how I felt about myself. And so no matter what you're thinking, you need to experience life. And the more you open up to experiences, I think the better you feel. The more you love yourself, the better you feel. You have to find something good to say to yourself. You have to find something. Honestly, gratitude for me was a big thing. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. It's just finding. In fact, I started a little practice that I did where I would come up with 3 small graces, and I used to post them on Instagram and Facebook almost every day. Just 3 small things, little trivial things, because so many people get, they're big for the big things are noticeable. They're more noticeable, but taking time to really be grateful for those smaller, more trivial, seemingly uninteresting things makes you that much more aware of everything else that you should be grateful for. And so gratitude, I think, is really the best advice. Find something about yourself to be grateful for. You may not like your thighs, but maybe you've got, nice hips. Mm-hmm. Maybe you love your hips. Maybe you love your eyes. So stop focusing on everything that you feel is wrong with you, because nothing is really wrong with you. Flaws are the most beautiful things in the world. They're really tattoos of the soul.
Wow, that's beautiful.
I just wish everyone knew that.
I love that. Like, I considered wearing clothes for this conversation, and then I said,
You did not. I know you didn't.
I really did consider wearing clothes. And then I thought, no, this is body shame. I'm going to come naked. So before we go, though, I want to ask you a couple of questions that are actually related to my red circle body shame healing. So I just want to, and I kind of want to make this a staple in my in the conversation series. So they're just 6 and they're short. So what's your favorite body part?
Of mine?
Yes.
Of
yours.
Yeah, let's keep this PG.
It's okay. Are.
My eyes, and it's actually one of the things I've gotten complimented on for years, and I love them too. I do. I love how expressive they can be and how they twinkle and the way that they sit in my face, and I love everything about them. I love what they see. I love what I see now versus what I didn't see before. So I have to say that my eyes are definitely my favorite body part.
Well, you have amazing eyes. I get the pleasure of looking at them often.
Me too, because I look in the mirror a lot.
Me too. I definitely, vanity is my favorite sin. I'm
here.
So what's your least favorite body part?
Least favorite body part, I think, I don't really want to say that I have one. I don't. I actually think that I probably would have a few years ago. And it would have been my stomach. And I could get naked like you and show everybody my stomach, but it's not flat. It's not toned. I think so. Rather than saying a least favorite body part, I'll say that that's just the one that I still would like to change and still, get it to a different way that it looks. But I don't have any least favorite. I love every part of my body, because if I didn't have that part, then I would not be a whole person. And I kind of like being a whole person. So I love all my parts.
Yay, I love that. And are you comfortable with nudity?
Mine?
By yourself or with a partner?
I am now. I didn't used to be. And again, not a toned girl here. But there is something beautiful and feminine about the curves and I don't even just mean, curves. I mean everything. I have, a little roll on my back that I love. It's right above my butt. And I love that. I love the way that looks. I think women who have that are gorgeous. I love seeing that, and a woman who's comfortable wearing clothes that show off her body in the best way, whether she is small or curvy or, whatever you want to call her. But I love that about myself. I think that when I'm naked, I don't want to see past myself anymore. And I'm absolutely okay with being nude in front of someone else now. And I didn't used to be. And it's just because it's not even a thing. There's no question. I came into this world like that. So anybody has a problem with that must be inhuman.
Right. Exactly. I love that. So what comes to mind when you hear the word pleasure?
Pleasure. Pleasure for me, I think, it's such a subjective kind of word. I think it would just be loving myself, really, and involving all of my senses, and that I think is the most pleasurable thing, is doing something that involves all the senses. Or at least, several of the senses at once: cooking, sex, coffee, good music. That's pleasure. And that's why so many people find this pleasurable. I think anything that is sensory centric is very pleasurable.
Oh, you're speaking my language.
I knew you'd like that.
Do you want to be desired, or do you desire to be loved?
I think if I have to choose out of either of those, I would desire to be loved, simply because desire itself is fleeting. And desire is based on the perception of who's doing desire rather than a person that's desired. I think love can be an all-encompassing kind of thing. I think that love can incorporate desire, but desire does not always incorporate love. So out of the two, for my own choices, absolutely loved.
And last question, what does a confident woman look like, and are you that woman?
I don't think she has a look. I think she has a vibe and energy. I think she is light and free and full of spirit for herself. I think she owns every aspect of herself. That's what that is to me. It's not a look. I don't think, you can tell, you can see women with it. You can see them when they walk into a store. It doesn't matter what their body shape is. It doesn't matter if they have no arms. You can tell those women, they have it. And I think it's like right here at the center of who you are, or even lower. It's your, it's everything, owning everything that you are. It's being completely in touch with the feminine part of you, and just being open to that and being open to yourself. That's to me what confidence is, and that is incredibly sexy on women especially. So that's what it looks like.
Yay. Well, I love that. I just adore you.
I adore you right back.
Thank you for being my very first guest. Does anybody have any questions? If so, you can type them in the comments. We've got a few minutes, I think, to take a couple of questions. If anybody has anything they'd like to ask, Word Goddess Kemari. No questions? Well, I would love to have you again, because this is the first one, and my intention is to host these several Wednesdays a month, and there are a couple of people that I'm eager to invite to have this conversation. So I think that it's really important. I guess I would say, like, if you have a vision for where body shame healing is to go, what would that look like?
Rather, I think for me, if to see that happen, to see everyone truly healed from that kind of stuff, I would love to see it not tip the scales, and this is something I've actually had a conversation about with my own daughter, is that sometimes when we're attempting to advocate for something, it leaves another out. A lot of times I've seen, I myself being plus sized, have made comments that make smaller women feel bad. And I would like to see that it's not about being one more than the other or having one more body type accepted. It's about acceptance of everyone and compassion. I mean, that should be the basis for every religion, every fashion show, anything. It should be based on true acceptance of everyone as they are and compassion for everyone as they are and as they show up. And I would love to see any kind of body shape really go in that direction. It's not accepting the other kind of person or advocating for being a bigger person. It would just be acceptance in general of who we are and how we come to the table, basically.
I agree. I had a friend once, he had twins. Look, you'll relate to this. He had twins, and he taught his twins that the only religion that they would ever need is tolerance, acceptance, love, and compassion. And I agree with that.
I love that. That's actually something I've told my daughter as well, is that's, and my son also, he's pretty much already set, but she and I have these conversations, and she's always questioning. She's a big advocate for everything. So she's constantly questioning different religions and different beliefs. She's studying different religions, and that's one of the things that she suffers from is body image issues, just because she has freckles and she doesn't like her hair, and people have teased her before. So I've explained to her, so, you don't retaliate because you still accept who they are. You accept and you're compassionate, and that's all you need. You truly will survive in this world if you have acceptance and compassion, and that's what you need to teach, even if it's through what you're doing and how you're responding. We teach sometimes by how we react, and I wish I had known that years ago. I probably could have taught other people, other friends who were going through body shame issues in school, if I had reacted a particular way. You never know who's watching. You never know, again, like you'd mentioned before, other people lash out because they have something. They have their thing, whatever their thing is. So you don't really know why someone's doing or saying something. So I think that, acceptance and compassion should be the basis for any kind of body shame healing, any kind of advocacy for pretty much anything in this world. We lack acceptance and compassion nowadays, and I would love to see that come back strong and tenfold.
We are doing it right now, so thank you. Well, thank you all for staying with us. I am so grateful. I really am inspired by you all the time, not just today, but every day. You inspire me every day. And I am so grateful to be in your world, in your orbit, to be in an extension of this sisterhood. It's powerful. And I'm looking forward to helping other women to get where you are, to be able to look in the mirror and not feel like they need to pick themselves apart, but that they really can look at themselves and appreciate the beauty of their form, however it happens to look.
Right. Well, I have no doubt about it that we will absolutely make that happen, especially in that circle, which I am a big supporter of. And I think this is definitely something so many women need, even if they won't admit it to themselves. We all have that thing, everyone, even people who don't think that they have that thing. You may say to your daughter, oh, you don't want to wear that. You don't want somebody to say this about you. Even, colors that some people don't feel look good on you. You're shaming other people, and it's just about acceptance. This is why, young kids, they dress in tutus and, big rain boots and pajama pants, and no one looks, no one says anything. Mm-hmm. No one makes comments. No one tells little children, you shouldn't be wearing that. You're ugly. You're fat. No one does that. Mm-hmm. Why don't we have that same acceptance and compassion for others? So I hope to see everyone that joins your Red Circle come out through that with acceptance and compassion for themselves and for others.
Well, I am going to do everything I can to reach as many people as possible. And this conversation series is just one piece. So I hope that everyone will tune in again. Tell your friends, tell your girlfriends. And if anyone is interested in being in the hot seat in participating in this conversation, send me a private message or it's not called private message on Twitter. It's called direct message on Twitter. So a direct message. My Twitter handle is Stacey with an EY in Herrera. And I'd love to engage in a conversation with you. So thank you, Goddess, for joining me. I appreciate you. And I'll just talk with you offline.
Yes, you will. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Yeah, I can't wait to see your next lab.
Yes, I'm excited. I enjoyed this very much.
Me too.
Alrighty, well, TTFN. Look, my daughter will be proud of me for using an acronym. TTFN. Bye.
Bye.